Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pete White. I'm one of the admins on Voltron Toys and Collectibles on Facebook, along with my friend Kyle Belair, who's passing out some stickers from our group, and our friend Paul Potts, who couldn't make it today. So I appreciate you all coming. Going to do an overview of some of the observations I've made as being a Voltron toy collector since probably around 1984. I was hooked from the first time I saw it come on my TV screen, and right up through now. And being a part of VoltCon has been an amazing experience, and the friends made here are just some of the people I talk to every day now. And a big thank you to Kyle for the help with the PowerPoint. So, from toys of long ago to today and beyond. From GoLion Toys comes the legend that became our childhood with Voltron. When we saw it on toy shelves, when we saw commercials, or in a toy catalog like the one in front of us, the visuals were just amazing. We just wanted one. And similar to almost every time I was in a toy catalog, something was usually not put out or done wrong on these. So it's fitting that I forgot to put the ears down. Voltron Toys by Matchbox, many of us found out later on, or still didn't know, were redesigned versions of the Popy Bandai design, often with the weapons removed. And we've got starting with the Jumbo, what I call the GB36, then the GB35, which is a 6-inch, a Safubi, and a 4-inch model. One of the big differences between Matchbox and Popy, and then later the Lionbots, is accessories were not included. So with the Matchbox, you had to go out and buy a Blazing Sword set if you wanted to be able to defeat that road beast we never got. Part of the reason that we got the changes that we did is there were strict regulations because of a death that happened with a Battlestar Galactica toy. It had small firing missiles, and unfortunately a child passed away from choking on one. Mattel had to go back, or Kenner actually had to go back and make the Boba Fett figure that would have been a firing figure no longer fire. So that's why that missile's in the back of Boba Fett, doesn't move. So with the Popy Japan or the Godaiken American, you would have had the firing mechanisms still intact. And then, we get to some of the other differences of the GB36, which is what's in front of us. You'll see to the left, you can either see the small stickers that would have the Popy symbol and say CYNK made in Japan, or they'd have a GoLion B, or GoLion C or D. If you look to the picture of the two lion back ends, if you look on the right, this small sticker is a little bit more boxy than the rounded sticker. So that boxy sticker would mean you got an original Popy or Godaiken, and if you had the rounded sticker, it's going to be a Matchbox, as you can see with the arrows. The firing mechanisms, the shoulder of the Matchbox would have the springs removed, so those missiles couldn't be put in and fired, no kids could be harmed by them. If you've got the ones that still have the springs intact, you either have a Popy, Godaiken, or a Lionbot. Also, some of the differences to the left with the red lion, those dull teeth were another safety feature for us with the Matchbox, and with the other models, the Popy, the Lionbot, you would have had the sharp teeth. Not quite sharp enough to really do anything, but we still want safety first, so Matchbox got dull teeth. And even the Lionbots, over the years, the teeth have become duller and duller as they were copying the Matchbox versus copying the Popy.
And what is Lionbot to those who don't know?
For those who don't know, Greg, thanks for that. A Lionbot is a knockoff or a bootleg version of the Voltron robot that would look exactly the same, except it may have the firing mechanisms, and some other details that we're going to get into. And they've been almost in continuous operation since 1982, maybe late 81, with Voltron fakes coming out. And now they're becoming more and more noticeable that the fakes are becoming worse because the molds are breaking down, the colors are not as good, so if you can get one of the originals, that's always the way to go. One of the things that some of us in the room might remember is Matchbox had to recall the ones that were labeled GoLion D on the GB36, the tall model that we have in front of us, and also the GB35 model, which is the 6-inch. And I can go over these slides with anyone more if they want to, but it has little things to identify it. Mainly that sticker that I showed you with the GoLion D on it meant you had a lead paint version, so definitely don't be eating your Voltrons. And if you had the smaller one, and I'll show you in later slides, the embossed on the yellow piece of the torso would say made in Taiwan on the back, and it would also have the Bandai and on the feet. So the recalled version, a lot of times you're going to see a gap between the red lion's head and the body of it on the GoLion Ds. That's one of the visuals you can look for. If we get a lot of questions on the Voltron Toys and Collectible page of what do I have here? What version is this? So you can see the little gaps between the head. And then if you look at that green lion, it's got Bandai 1981 stamped under its chin. Now, most people get that and they say, hey, I got an original 1981. No, sorry, that's just the copyright, and it's not actually when it was made. And on some of the Lionbot knockoffs, you will see that that's been kind of sanded off, or they tried taking it off the mold and it's still faintly there on many of those. The Matchbox to the left in this picture and the Lionbot knockoff to the right in this picture, a little bit of color differences, but the major differences that you'll see on these are with the clips. The white clip, as in this one, lots of fine details with them for different versions, but with the Matchbox or the Popy, you're going to get the white clips. With the Trendmasters, you're going to get the white clips. And with the Lionbots, you're going to get the gray clips. The only difference with that, and my friend Brad in the back actually helped me find this out, is on the GoLion Bs. Whether they were just kind of pulling parts from the same boxes, the GoLion Bs will also have the gray clips. But the rest of it is standard Matchbox. And anyone could say, hey, I found something different, and we're not going to doubt you because we're finding different things all the time as we talk about these more and more. One of the ones that has become more sought after were one of the early versions of Lionbots with the diamond belt. And as you can see, where you would normally see a star on our Voltron, you'll see that diamond instead. There's a few more differences with it. There's a Lionbot knockoff with a diamond belt with the V crest, which we think is the earliest model of the Lionbots. They would come in the boxes that you rarely see with it'll either say die-cast metal or it'll say die-cast metal in like a rainbow color. They didn't even get that right, so it's not strange that they didn't get the diamond or anything else right. But these have become the ones that are the hardest to get. My friend Heath and I were actually bidding on one together, and when he posted it, that's when we started our long discussions on this model. Which of these you'll see with the diamond belts, you'll see the sharp teeth on them because they're early Lionbots. Now with this black lion, if you actually put your finger on that tooth, it might be almost enough to make you say ouch. When you're looking at the diamond belts, one of the things you're going to look for in the limbs is there's vertical lines going up and down the limb lines. So the yellow, red, green, and blue will have these stripes going down, whereas any other model will have the vertical lines that you see in the lower picture. and off to the side is a diamond belt. It's called the star diamond belt. And it's probably one of the hardest to identify as a diamond belt, because you'll say, no, that's a regular Matchbox or a regular Popy with diamond limbs. Well, until we started digging a little deeper, Heath started taking these things apart, we got to see that the original Lion bots to the left, you see where it's the V crest all the way down on the inside of the Lion bot. With all the rest, it's the normal crest off to the right. So that's really one of the only ways, unless you can see a very faint impression on the front of the star diamond belt, that you would know that you had a variation and not just a regular lion. You can all thank me for going home and looking through your collections now to see what you've got.
So basically, without disassembling it, you've got to look very, very closely at the finish, basically, right?
Yeah, Greg, without disassembling these things, like that finish can almost be perfect, because they filled it in some ways, so you wouldn't see it once the red paint was on. And we have, we have a group chat we call the Voltron beer chat that, we'll send each other ones, hey, do you think this might be? And, it's a guess at all times until you take it apart, really. Until we find something else that looks different on it, these are the only ways we've found definitively to know that you have a star diamond belt. One of the other rare ones is the Lionbot knockoff, the V belt, where you see it has a V. It kind of looks like a little bunny, or if everyone remembers TiVo, I kind of think it looks like the TiVo symbol, and it can come in many different variations. Similar to the original Popy having chrome joints and tails, you can have a version that you see all the way to the left that has chrome joints for the red and green lions, and it has yellow paint on the inside. You can have a Lions 5-in-1 that has the yellow joints with the red and green lions. Also, you'll notice a red cannon on yellow, and on the end is a 5-in-1 that we know this is the actual way it came, because a few of us have ones that are still sealed in package. It has like a plastic shrink wrap around it. It's still sealed. Now, can anyone tell me something different in the middle one there?
The yellow and blue heads are switched.
Okay,
And the red and green.
you're right. And that's one of the coolest features about a few of these V-belts, is it was the first one that could do the 4 lion head attack. So you can actually take these off, and the heads can attack. Bandai has some of the stands that I've seen some people do. You can, display them like that. Until the SOC, the Soul of Chigoken, this was the first and only one that could do the 4 lion head attack in this size.
And it's a knockoff.
It's a knockoff.
So the Soul of Chigoken is the first
Licensed one that can do
That's
it.
incredible.
Yeah. Well, the first licensed of this size. There is a
Right,
6-inch
right.
that can do it. With the V-belts, you'll also see that the vertical lines on the horizontal lines on the lions are normal. So you have to look for that red cannon. So some of the stuff that I've learned, I follow Infinite Godaiken Brent on YouTube. I can get you this link after. He does several videos outlining the differences in lion bots. One of my favorites, also, it's not a lion bot knockoff, so that shouldn't say that, but it's the Gangnam Korea knockoff. And what you'll notice is on the one all the way to the right, things are inverted. So what should be red is yellow, and what should be yellow is red. More standard one is the one to the left, where you have the red wings, red ears, and a red belt. And this is one of the few the few GV36s that are made of all plastic. And it shouldn't say Lionbot, but we'll fix that later. In the middle, you can see this has had some of the best box art out of any version that's been out there. And I do believe some of these versions can be found at Voltron Michael's table out in the Space Mall.
It has the Korean flags on the red wing.
It does.
Noticing that.
The Korean flags usually are on the yellow wings too, but sometimes somebody put them on the back versus the front. So I found that with a lot of the Gangnam ones. It's just the decals were put on differently. So Lionbot knockoffs continuing. This is no longer a knockoff, but it's the 1999 Trendmasters Revival reissue. You know, besides getting a new show in '97, we also got a new Lion, or a new Voltron, made in all die cast, and it's up against a Lionbot. And the Lionbot that it's next to in this picture is one of the ones that also can have plastic red and green arms. The black Lion, if you took it apart, actually has a weight inside it to give it the heft of a regular die-cast model. So it's a little bit of a tricky one. Who can tell me the difference, one of the big differences on the Trendmasters version from the picture?
Fins on the red and green.
It's got fins on the red and green. So if you've got fins on your red and green, you know you've got a Trendmasters. Also, the picture to the left, you can also see that the tails are black on the Trendmasters. And the one other big difference, and that's why I put it up against this Lionbot, it also has a black and gray face versus the blue face. And similar to the GoLion Ds, you'll find that 84 Web and 97 Trendmasters China is embossed on the chin for these ones. 1999 Trendmasters, again, ignore that Lionbot knockoff. They made remote control versions of this in plastic. They made, sensors that went off on these. All things you can learn a little bit more of in one of Greg's next panels that's up next. Greg Tyler from the Voltron, Let's Voltron podcast has, shared more things with us over the years and has forgotten more things about toys than most of us will ever know. I hear it's a great experience to get to go to a toy show with him. So you'll see more of the Trendmasters with him. Does anyone remember the Machinders, the Shogun Warriors from the 80s?
Yeah.
All right, so Voltron, or I should say GoLion, had the jumbo GoLion Maschinder, and some of the big differences between what we got here from LJN was the middle picture shows that the fist had missiles that could fire. It had a different sticker in the middle, and it didn't have a base. And the one way you can tell if you've got the original versus somebody doing reissue decals is to the right. It says it's got the Popy symbol in Japan 1981 stamped on the back, and also the GoLion symbol with Y and K on the left thigh. Now, in the United States, for our release through, when World Events Productions got involved in this was an awesome toy. So it needed to be re-released. Had to change it a little. So you can see they put a base on the bottom of it to make it have a remote control function that was, a little bit more playable than just this giant plastic thing that its arms could move. So fun thing we all wanted, because honestly, when you were, 5, 6, 7 years old, this thing was as tall as you. It was awesome, 24 inches, and you can see when it's on its base, it towers over Raideen and Mazinger, or Mazinga.
As I recall, this toy, the TV ad for that toy was the first American animation of Voltron, wasn't it? Because
I believe you're right, Greg, and if we had more time, I would love to show that video. It's so cool because it's got the Robeast that we all knew and loved, jumping out of the trees, coming at you. I think one of our friends in the room has a cell from that. It's really cool to see, and it's definitely worth checking out on YouTube, the LJN commercial for the Giant Commander. Great point, Greg. And this is the fun of it. You know, to me, toy collecting has very little to do with just the toys. It's the friendships you make along the way and sharing the little details that you find out about some of this stuff. Now, in more modern times, Toynami put out a Shogun Warriors GoLion, which is the one on the left with the LJN in the middle for size. And then they did a 30th anniversary, which is on the right in the box there, and that's probably where I'll leave it, because these are hard to find space for. And then off to the right, we'll talk about the Trendmasters a little bit more later. The plastic was brittle. Somebody shipped one of these to me in box together. About the only thing I could salvage from it was the head, crest, and belt, so I made a Voltron Christmas tree jumbo. And I still try to put it up every year for Christmas. Going back to the thought that a lot of what we played with from the web era of Voltron went back to the GoLion era. The yellow to the side is a Popy rubber GoLion, only had one color. So when LJN must have got the molds for these, they made them full color. You know, some of the stuff is painted on, the chest, the crest, the belt, but they molded it in the plastic color of what it should be. And I know growing up, this was one of my favorite ones. And it was one that, you know, you could always play with and never break. And got an example of it right here. And, you know, I could like throw this out, it wouldn't do anything. This was like totally playable, lots of fun, versus this one that my original one did go down my brother's stairs. We always lost the heads on these because they do fire off. With this one, you could just play with it. And to me, being able to play with a toy is an important thing. Off to the side, I'm trying to like put together some trends. The Loot Crate eraser that recently came out that I think you can get also in the Space Mall. I think I saw one of them out there, or there might be one in the auction to support VoltCon. You can bid on it. Similar idea, you can take it apart. It's the color of the lions, and it's a cool one that you can play with and nothing will go wrong with it. The 6-inch diecast, the one in the middle is the GB35. And then you have two different die-cast matchboxes to each side of it. Once again, we go back to accessories not included. You had to go buy the weapons if you wanted them, and the miniature blazing sword set came on a card like with the larger Voltron set. Some of the cool things about this, the GB35, you can notice it if you're looking on eBay or you know, another site, that you can see those little yellow buttons. That meant the red and green heads could fire off. And when I show the picture, the Matchbox ones sometimes had the hole, but it had the firing mechanisms removed, and the red and green line were like fixed in place, even though they were very much similar, the same parts. And if you take apart a Matchbox one and you have the GB35, you can put those in and they'll fire off, so you can have extras. What you can see, and what I like to do, is kind of park the lions in the wrong spot at night. So you've got yellow on blue again, you've got blue on yellow and green on red. This could also do the 4 lion head attack. And I'm hoping it's a feature that is more prominently put into any more of these that we keep getting and getting. With the ones that came out, one thing to keep an eye on is the top right-hand corner is the made in Taiwan. So that way you would know that was the recalled version. So in the one in the middle, you can see the tabs that could fire the yellow and blue heads off of, which you don't see on the one to the left, which I think is the made in Taiwan. A little bit of a paint chippage there. Don't eat your toys. And then you could see they were using the same parts because the mold that they had, or the parts they were using, was just on the right. They just had the firing mechanisms removed, same toy put together. Looking at over the years, the 6-inch scale, the GB35, sometimes a little taller, sometimes a little shorter, has been used often as a good size for a playable toy. So you see the Matty on the left, the GB35, the Matchbox, the Bandai Mini Gunpla model, and then the Super 7 on the end there. And those Super 7s are available with the Voltron store quite often. The Trendmasters line, they've also done a lot in the 6-inch, really the 5.5. So you see the GB35, you see the Galaxy Guard, you see a prototype Voltrex that's 5.5 inches, and then the release Stealth. And I know from being online, when anybody puts the yellow lion or the green lion or anyone on the wrong side, you will get jumped on faster than anything. And oftentimes in the package, the Stealth 5.5 that were on the 6-inch one was reversed. So you can take it completely apart and have the screws show on the front if you want it to be the regular way Voltron is set up. Otherwise, you got it reversed. Going into Playmates for the Voltron Legendary Defender, we got others of this size. We got a Lion Attack that fired just the green lion. We got a Cannon Fire that was also similar to a taller one that they put out. And we got the bendable one. And these were all small, you know, they're good if you want to fight like the Robeasts that are around this size that we did get. And then a mid-sized lion bot came out. I can't find a reference to an actual Popy release of this, but the one all the way to the right in each of these pictures is a fully die-cast, same amount of metal as the GB36. However, it was a mid-size, and we got the motorized Lion Force from LJN back in the 80s, and then we got the Lion Force Voltron from Trendmasters that could all separate in that same mid-size range. Victoria, King of Beasts GoLion, the 4-inch, and Mini Lion and the Sofubi Popy GoLion. These are fun. They're like 4 inches. You can find them all over the place. You know, usually the knockoffs, if you find the original of the Sofubi, you can see on the feet, it's got the Popy logo and the stamp. And one of the things I want to do in this panel is kind of let you identify what you have so somebody can't rip you off telling you it's something it's not. With the 4-inch, if it's the original, it's going to have the YNK and the Made in Japan on the back side of it. And that would be the Popy box to the right. There's several different knockoff boxes you can find. And then an interesting thing is we've been finding that Matchbox with Irwin in Canada, as those who are releasing it, have mock-ups on cards to where a lot of times it could be, you know, I'm not sure if it's the real deal inside or if it's one of the knockoffs, but it is on the Matchbox card, and these come in a few different forms. And they were possibly never sold in stores. However, you do find some with residue to where they've gotten the little tag that somebody was selling a few of them, but they were never mass produced from what we found out. And these are just some of the different 4-inch mini lion bots, or mini lions that are out there. I think the one with the red leg, green leg, yellow arm, blue arm is probably my favorite out of these. And some of these come apart, some feel like they've been glued together. Also, the Loot Crate Eraser could fall into this category with similar size. And then to keep on with telling you about some of the Gangnam knockoffs made in Korea, they did one of that same 4-inch size that was all white with just some decals on it. Super 7 also followed around that same size with you know, the Shogun figures. We got a lot of different boxes that all of these come in, and we could do a whole panel just on boxes. We're gonna not focus on that as much, but I think it's fun that they're still doing this 4-inch line. These are super playable. Like, these are meant for kids to play with, enjoy, and it's one of the things I love about the Super 7 lines. And we get to one of my favorites. It's the one I remember most as a kid, Panosh Place. They gave us the most complete line of Voltron toys so far. And when I got back into collecting in 2018, I purchased a full set of these, and it's just like one of the crown jewels of my collection. But one of the innovations that World Event Productions gave us through Panosh Place with this was the first Voltron to hold pilots inside, which we heard a little bit about Greg talking about in his last panel. And if you get a chance to see the one he did for Vehicle Voltron, it is a feat of engineering. But you could put the pilots in this. Behind it, one that could be considered a jumbo, or it could be considered just one that holds the pilots, is the Trendmasters Jumbo. It's the one that I turned into the Christmas tree, because if you look at this thing wrong, that black plastic will break into a million pieces. The middle one is a picture I'm using with permission from Jonathan Tchaikovsky from the Trendmasters prototype group on Facebook. We had the 5.5, the 7.5s that were never released. We had the 12-inch Voltrex that was released, and then we could have had a 24-inch Voltrex that would have held all the pilots had Trendmasters continued making Voltrons, and if that series had continued. So when you see these toys on the shelves, if something new's put out, support them so we can keep this stuff going. And then over to the right, you have the Trendmasters Jumbo Stealth Voltron, also called the Hamstertron. Next to the LJN Giant Commander, and you can see how this one, actually I think it's exact, or no, that's the Trendmasters one because I can see the fins, in comparison for sizes. But I think the ones that could hold the pilots were just really cool, playable, and you got figures, which, you can see how they fit into the cockpit, even though Hans and Chewie are kind of stealing a ride in yellow and blue there. The Black Lion you can see into the cockpit, and you can see in the cockpit on the stealth ones. Matty Collector was another one that came with a complete set of lions, or a complete set of pilots. The best pilots to date that have been put out. They're beautiful. And, we can say what we can about the Matty. It was an okay version, but it had great potential. And it's a beautiful piece. It's about as tall as the LJ and Giant Commander, and it can hold pilots. So I'm hoping we see more like that in the future. And these pictures come from Caster's Corner. They were at New York Toy Fair. We could have gotten VLD Lions that would hold pilots if that had continued. So
we on the podcast we had a chance to interact with a gentleman who worked at Playmates Toys, and we asked him about those and asked if they were planning to make those combined, and the response was no, because the figures are so large. The combined Voltron would have been prohibitively expensive. So
yeah, and that's great. And with the Playmates, not in the PowerPoint, but we got a lot of non-combining. We got a lot of extras through Playmates, where I would have rather have seen, my own opinion, I would have rather seen just a complete set of the line come out and then focus on extras. So I'm hoping when we get the movie, we get a streamlined line of toys to play with. And for a while, Toynami had the license to make toys. They used a very similar model for most of the stuff they released. They had an Masterpiece collection, the 20th anniversary, the 30th anniversary, different paint applications. Some were plastic, some were made of metal. One of the coolest things about the 30th anniversary was we got a working key, and when you put it into the base, it did the theme, a little bit of the theme, and it was just really cool. And then you have the collector box that came with one of the editions. And then to the left, you have the store display for the Reebok, one that they did with the shoes. You have a Jolly Bee in the middle, which is a fast food place that had an absolutely amazing Voltron toy in Happy Meals that you get a lion each week, put them together, and just really cool.
that was in the Philippines.
The
right?
Philippines, yes. Yeah.
The nice thing about the one on the right is that it was just so posable. as opposed to the Matchbox and the Trendmasters that had the very static style, but the fact that you could, adjust the angle of the head, you could have the legs apart, you could do all kinds of neat poses.
Yeah, they're definitely collector grade posability, and you can take great shots with them. Beautiful pieces.
Yes.
And then Toynami also released the Ultimate EX on the left, which is the anime colors, and then they released a Stealth EX. It was supposed to be a convention exclusive. I think there were between 300 and 500 pieces, depending on who you talk to. It said 300 on the packaging. But they're huge. They're the same size as the Trendmasters Jumbos, as you can see in the picture to the side. The Stealth EX, the black dark version, has become very sought after. And it's a great piece. The posability on these is amazing. These are two of my favorite pieces because they finally are different looking. They're a unique style. It bulked up Voltron a little, but a lot of people didn't like them because they were all plastic. And they did have some issues with some pieces breaking, but overall they were a great toy. Also, later in the line, more recently, we got Icarus Dark Lion Force after the original Mad Toys anime, which is the Mad Toys anime is the one to the left. The one in the middle is Icarus anime. They had some issues where the Mad Toys wasn't licensed. They made some changes. They were able to work and get the Icarus toys put out. The Dark Lion Force is just a beautiful piece, very hard to find. I know Michael Voltron Michael has one out on his table, but they're a beautiful piece. And just trying to show you some of the different ones of this size. Now, getting to the 84 Classic Voltron and Legendary Defender from Playmate Toys, thanks to the Netflix show, we finally got Voltron toys that were huge, awesome, and totally playable. You wouldn't have to worry handing these to anyone and saying don't break it, because it was they're well put together toys. I absolutely love these ones. As you can see, they tower over this, and also one of the coolest features is they're interchangeable. So if you've got pieces to one, you can put them with the other. You can make up however your own Voltron should look like. I like having the newer Lions with the 1984 Classic Center. And they had some problems with ratcheting joints. They had some problems with, if you turned the arms, the shield or the chest piece moved up. But overall, absolutely great toy. These are a few more pictures of the Legendary Defender and when they released the Hyper Phase for Legendary Defender with, we only got on the show the Black Lion turning into it, but this is a great view of what it would have looked like if we got a full Hyper Phase Voltron. Also very playable. The paint app isn't as good on that one as the original from VLD, but still a great piece to have. We also got from the Netflix show a die-cast model for those who just really like die-cast. It goes into that mid-sized 8-inch range more than anything, but still a super fun one to play with. It also, one of the cool things about the VLD larger ones and this one is you could hide the legs on the red and green lion when it was in Voltron form. Soul of Chigokin, the GX71, probably one of the nicest Voltrons we will get. It's very similar to the size of this, as you can see, but it's that modern update from Bandai. It's just absolutely beautiful piece, and I'm glad to see that they're going down in price a little so more people hopefully can get them, because the sticker shock on some of these is pretty bad. And also, Fantasy Jewel released Hagar's Voltron of sorts. If you remember the episode where Hagar made a Robeast of Voltron, it was in the regular anime colors you see to the right, but it had that skull symbol of the Jewel Empire in the middle. Beautiful box art. If you pick one of these up, just be careful. The quality of them is not very good. And there's been a lot of issues with these ones. So if you can get the Soul of Chigokin, go for the licensed version. And sometimes you can get that plate that you can put in the center to upgrade your Soul of Chigokin. The Blitzway from Carbotix, massive Voltron, this size, pricey, but it has an amazing base. The base can hold all our weapons, and the poses it can do, you know, anything you can imagine from the classic Voltron show, this thing can basically mimic in your display case. Beautiful piece, and I know it can do the, you know, when they're going up to form Voltron with the entrails, just the displayability of this one is awesome, and the playability is awesome. Price tag, not so much, but hopefully as they continue, we'll see what happens. I can't cover all the Voltrons that are available. I do suggest you keep checking in with the Voltron store, because right now they have a few different versions of the Super 7. They've had the Robo Duo Voltrons, including a metallic edition that's only available through the Voltron store. They have the ES Gokin one. A lot of these are out at the table right now in the Space Mall. I love buying from the Voltron store because you're making sure that, you know, the people who are bringing us this stuff can continue bringing it. So anytime you can support them, I strongly encourage it. And coming soon from Blitzway, we're hoping this happens. Voltron Legendary Defender in that larger format, the base that we saw on the regular Voltron, the 84 Classic, you know, a great piece for Legendary Defender fans, which I definitely put myself in that category. It was a great reimagining of the show, and I love the fleshed out storylines that they did. Now, there was an unreleased second wave of Panosh Place, and I thank Dudley Drulroyd for the use of this, our own Greg. But this is what we could have had: a Doom playset, a Robeast that was actually the size of the Voltron that it was fighting, you know, and then some others that would have been, you know, a coffin that, yeah, the coffin that would transform, rocket, and a few Voltron vehicle force figures. But
there's a Sven on the Castle of Lions too. Did you see that?
yeah,
Yeah.
we would have gotten the Sven, which we finally got in Maddie. So I wish this had continued.
And Merla, and
Yeah.
the Medusa Robeast.
Yeah, there's a lot we would have gotten in this, but unfortunately, these are the ones we got. You know, the Mizax, the Scorpius, the Mutilator, and then we even got a Mizax that wasn't that bad from Burger King. Mine's still in the package, as you can see there. So a lot of us have had to resort to kind of having stand-in robots. If you've watched Toy Story, Zurg works well. For the Maddie small, you know, a Clawful from Masters of the Universe has worked well. However, and I think some of you have already seen this out there, but coming soon, we're gonna have Diclops. Visit the Voltron store booth and Space Mall to view the prototype of this, which is a smaller version. These are going to be on pre-order at the Voltron store. There are only going to be 500 of them made. And 14-inch Robeast, that's going to fight this guy. You know, that's going to fight the SOC. That's going to be the Robeast that we've all deserved. And it's a new licensor holds the Panosh Place licensing, and so it's going to be a licensed Panosh Place product.
Wow.
Very cool, so I definitely support that when it comes out. And with that, I want to say thank you and see if you have any questions, comments, or anything. And I also promised some giveaways, so we're definitely going to do that as well. So I'll open it up to see if anyone, I can't see past these lights, so does anyone have any questions that we didn't cover during the presentation?
Among the I'm sorry,
No, go for it, Greg.
the Matchbox Popy Bondi classic Voltron that everyone remembers. Which, if you were to pick which of the knockoffs interests you the most, which would it be and why?
It would easily be the V-Crest. I just like that it's a little different. Beyond just having a different paint scheme or things like that. I really like that the crest goes down a little lower and it wasn't the same as my Matchbox. Because I have the Matchbox, I don't need everything to look like the Matchbox. It's one of the things I love about the Toynami Ultimate and Stealthy X's, is it's a different design. You know, the SOC, the Soul of Chigokin is great, the Blitzway is great, but you know, they're kind of going along the same lines. The Robo Duo is similar to the Soul of Chigokin. I like it when something's different is done. Liz?
Yes, how many toys do you have?
Oh, we'll get into that later. I've got a lot, and I'm hoping to go.
Action figures, sorry, action figures.
Toys, action figures, I do not get into that whole thing, but I hope to go home with a little bit less than what I came with.
I have a question.
Mark?
Tell us a little bit about the posability and articulation of the Pop Funko figures.
The Pop Funko figures. Here you go. This is the posability. They can lay down. You might be able, you can put them on their side. They can stand on their head.
There you go.
That is the posability of the Pop. I will say though, this is, the Voltron was the first and I wish only Pop I ever purchased.
Is that the same with the large size pop version?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if that one can stand on its head. The VLD came in a 6-inch version. And like I said, there are just so many Voltron toys out there that we couldn't cover all of them. And, you know, we probably tried covering a few too many in this.
I think I got the DOTU in the large size version too, not just the VLD.
I would love to see that if you have it, because I have not seen one of those.
I'd have to take a picture of it at home.
Got a picture, or a question over here?
Yeah, of all the die-cast versions that you have, which is your personal favorite and why?
Out of all the die-cast versions, I would say the Blitzway. The massive size of it, the posability. You know, I've changed it up several times in my case, so it's kind of like, you know, you put the white gloves on because you don't want to
No, okay.
scuff it up or anything. You know, you don't want fingerprints on it because it is like a $600 or $700 piece, but it can pose like you wouldn't believe. You know, you can do the classic superhero landing. You can, you know, do blazing sword. You know, the arms will actually stay up if you put them up. It's just a great piece. Followed probably by the Soul of Chigokin. Not so much the Fantasy Jewel. A lot of people will say that it's, you know, a similar thing. Will, like, the arms will flop, pieces will fall off it. So yeah, great question. Anything else?
So this is kind of to the side of the toys themselves, but do you have a collection management system?
I wish I had anything close to your collection management system. I need to. It's kind of just gotten overwhelming, and right now the collection management system I'm trying to use is please get them out of the boxes and actually displayed. Because I really want them out where they can be enjoyed, you know, have people over the house. I've kind of done like a trip around the collection room, which is similar to what this panel is with people. And to me, it's all about enjoying them with your friends and trying to get more people involved in collecting Voltron or whatever they're into. I got a question. Do you have any questions about Voltron toys down there? Sorry to put you on the spot. Okay, I'm gonna say that we need a Cosmo Voltron toy. That would be a cool pop to put out. So, and I'm gonna count that as a question. Anything else? I know we're getting short on time.
I mean, we need the other two pilots that we didn't get from this most recent one. We didn't get a princess and we didn't get a Pidge.
There is no princess. However, if you take a Maddie head, put it on Shiro, paint it yellow, you can get a hunk. And if you take a Trendmasters Pidge, you can repaint it. I've got pictures on our Toys and Collectibles page. You can make a decent VLD Pidge out of the Trendmasters version. Jason? Or no, that's not Jason. Right there.
Close.
Sorry, these lights are.
Would you make your presentation available? Do you share your PowerPoint?
I think we could see what we can do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just talk to me after. Right behind Mark.
Do you ever have like the
costumes of like the Voltrons? Do you collect those type of things?
I have all of them except the Voltron Forced one. So I have the original 1984 that I actually think I wore one Halloween, but it's not the same one I got. I definitely have the one that they put out towards Trendmasters, but I need to pick up the Voltron Force one. Usually you find those in like Australia. So the Voltron Force is harder to find merchandise on, but that was such an amazing design. I wish we got toys out of it. But nothing as great as, Eric Stocker's Voltron outfits, but yeah, I've got a few of those. All right, last call for questions.
Hey, what was the site you said we could go to for the Voltron on social media?
It's Voltron Toys and Collectibles on Facebook. And you can make sure you talk to Kyle because he's got some stickers. Kyle is the one who asked me on as an admin with the group and probably expanded my world of Voltron tremendously. And I believe the stickers have the link at the bottom.
Well, just the name, yeah.
So it's pretty easy, Voltron Toys and Collectibles on Facebook. We'd love to have you. We have great discussions. We try to keep it like kid and teen friendly with the discussions as much as possible because it should just be fun, no drama.
If you go back to the last slide of your presentation, you have it on there.
Yes. Thank you, Nancy. And this is like, I love that I can call so many people by name that I would not have known 5 years ago before I started coming to VoltCon. So,
Do you have a presentation about other knockoffs? Or are you planning something like that? Because, it's like the Astro Train Voltron, things like that.
we can talk about anything. I'm careful with the knockoffs, the unlicensed stuff. I have a lot of it, but we promote it a little. I prefer the licensed stuff, and a lot of the unlicensed stuff, besides the fact that WEP gets no credit and no money for it, so it doesn't help keep Voltron moving forward. A lot of it has quality control issues, but we could see about putting something together. We could do a box presentation. With Voltron toys, the ideas are endless. So, thank you, and if you've asked a question, I'm gonna let Shannon have the last question.
No, I'm good.
But please come and see me, point to something on the table that you might be interested in. No, this one's not available, but we can probably make anything else available. Plus, we've got some of the Burger King stuff. So we definitely wanted people to go home with some toys. So thank you all for sitting through this presentation.